Let's talk about it. Don't you wanna talk about it? Let's talk about
JSpire
it.
Live.
Don't you wanna talk
And
about
now,
it? Let's talk
Miss
about it.
JSpire.
Don't you wanna talk about it? Let's talk about it. Don't you wanna talk about it? Let's talk about it.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Fill Up Friday Live. I am your host, Mrs. JSpire, and I am so excited that it is Friday. And not only is it Friday, but it is Fill Up Friday. And it is my opportunity to spend some time with you all, talk about what you filled up on this week, talk about what I filled up on this week, talk about what we needed that we didn't get, and that hopefully by the time our time ends together tonight, that we are all full and that we leave this live wanting to practice some self-care, feeling better about ourselves, and being J-Spired. So if this is your first time catching Fill Up Friday Live, then I welcome you. Please drop your information into the comments so that we can welcome you. I welcome our Fill Up Friday faithfuls. I see Lucy joined. And so what is a Fill Up Friday faithful? A Fill Up Friday faithful is someone that joins us every Friday night at 8 o'clock, again, to talk about what we filled up on, to talk about what we needed. It's the JSpirations Live family. And so we invite you to be a part of that. Hey, Tammy, my sis Tammy is in the house, and she is also one of our Fill Up Friday faithfuls. You guys, I am so excited about our conversation tonight. So I need you guys to engage, to be active, and to really talk with me tonight. I'm going to give a couple more people some time to come on, but I am so excited about what we're sharing tonight. Also, before we get started, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and save the date. Save the date for Saturday, January the 27th, 2024. Are we really saying 2024? Yes, save the date for Saturday, January 27th, 2024. We will be having our second annual poetry and pastries event, and we are so excited about that. If you were with us last year, then you know that we had an amazing time and tickets sold out quickly. And so this year we're doing it a little different. Details will be coming soon, but you do not want to miss this event. Hey, Don. So Don is on our administrative team. And so Don was with us last year for our poetry and pastries. And she was also with us, of course, for our 5-year anniversary of JSpirations Live. And she will be there for poetry and pastries. I hope that I get the opportunity to get her on the mic. So I hadn't said anything to her about it. So I'm saying it now. It's the first time she's hearing it. But I do hope that she will be on the mic that night and that she will be one of our poets. We have some amazing poets to introduce, and we are excited about that. Latoya is also on tonight. She's another one of our Friday faithfuls, our JSpirations Live faithfuls, and she was also at poetry and pastries last year. And so I know that she had an amazing time as well. So Latoya, I hope you will be with us again. And then Paula just jumped on. Paula is also a part of our administrative team, and she is our administrator of JSpire's live. So she was definitely in the house last year, and she is going to be in the house again in 2024. So we are just excited all the way around about what's happening here at JSpire's live. Absolutely, Don. I'm going to make you go write something. So tonight was the first time that I let her know that she is going to be on the mic January 2024. So thank you, Latoya. It was an amazing time. It was so exciting that we wanted to make it an annual event. So January 27th, 2024, we will be at it again, ladies. And of course, Lucy was in the house as well. So we're hoping that she will be with us again. Well, she is going to be with us again. I'm telling her she's going to be there. But anyway, you guys, as I said at the beginning of the show, I hope you guys had an amazing week, and I'm so excited about what we are going to be talking about tonight. Yes, Paula said, "Be ye always ready, Don." That's right. So listen, you guys, some things that we want to talk about tonight. It is something that kind of just popped into my heart this morning. Woke up really early. If you know me, you know I like to sleep. Um, Lucy says she's waving. But I woke up really early this morning and I wanted to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. There were so many things like on my mind. Like I always tell my mom, like it seems like when I wake up, like my mind just starts going. Right, it's just constant. It's like it's immediate, right? I just start thinking about so many things, and so as I went about my day, getting dressed and getting ready for work, I wanted to, there's a couple things I was thinking about in the morning, and then I was getting ready for work and, in the shower. You guys know that's like my time just to really think and talk to God. And I started listening to the song, like He's Sweet, I Know, and just started thinking about, growing up, my mom, my aunties, my uncle, my grandmother, we were always at church. And, they would sing those old songs, just talking about, He's Sweet, I Know. And my little sister and I, and then, my cousins, like our aunties and moms and everybody, they always made us do something, right? They always made us, do something at church. We had to sing, we had to do praise and worship, we had to pray, we had to read the scripture, like just all those things. And sometimes praise and worship would just go forever, right? Like people are like slayed out in the spirit. And even though we had been in church all our lives, honestly, like on the way home, sometimes we'd be talking and we'd be like, did it have to last that long, right? Did we really have to be there that long? And kind of like, what is all of this about? And so in the shower, I was just thinking about like now that I have my own relationship with God, that now I really realize what those old hymns were about, the things that they were saying, especially the part about just how sweet God is, right? And I just began to think about all the things that I know now about what my family had went through, like all their situations, all their things that I wasn't privy of when I was a child, right? Even when I was a teenager, I just really wasn't privy. Yeah, Tammy said that hymn book back in the day, right? And like all those songs in the hymn book that like I know I didn't want to sing. I wanted to sing something else, right? And it's because I didn't know what those old hymns were, right? I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know what my family had gone through. I didn't know what they had experienced. I didn't know all the things that God had brought them through, right? But what I also didn't know is that watching them and observing them and them having me in church and having us participate and having us do things, that it was preparation, right? Even though it was uncomfortable, even though we wanted to go home, even though we didn't always want to be there, that experience, it was preparation for things that they knew that we were going to go through as adults. And it was the prayers that they had that one day, right? Not that we would experience some of the hardships that they had experienced, but if we did, then we would have that foundation to know that He is sweet. I know. And so when I woke up early this morning at probably about, I don't know, I think it may have been almost 5. It was 4 something in the morning. And I started just thinking, and I had some inboxes, right, that people had inboxed me and just started triggering. And I started to write. And what I wrote was, the last few years, you're going to see me look up to read, but I wrote, the last few years have been uncomfortable. In some areas of my life, being uncomfortable has made me move. And then other areas, I have been still. The moves have been scary, and the stillness at times has been frustrating. Through it all, I have remained steadfast in knowing that God knows all things. Doesn't mean I was comfortable, doesn't mean that I liked it, but I remain steadfast in knowing that God knows all things. Yesterday, I realized that God is allowing me to be uncomfortable so that I can see his hand on my life and remember all the things he has done before, and to really focus on who he is and who I am in him. This journey has been hard, painful, scary, lonely, and at times unbearable. But it's been a time of growth. It's Fill Up Friday, and I'm filling up on abundance. I know God has so much in store for me. I hope that you know that he has so much in store for you as well. If you felt any part of what I wrote, any part of what I read, I just want you to begin to drop it in the comments, because tonight we're going to talk about being uncomfortable. It's something that we don't like. It's something that we don't enjoy. It doesn't feel good, right? It makes us feel uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable makes us feel uncomfortable. And Lucy said, growing is a process, time is limited in a season. So let's talk about this just a little bit. I knew Don was coming with the scriptures. Well said. Paul said we have to learn how to be a base and abound. Don, you want to come on? I started to actually invite you to come on tonight, but like part of me knew you would say no, but I should have asked you anyway. Um, but um, like being uncomfortable makes you find a relaxing position, and it could take a while. That's really good. Um, she said no, but Um, but yeah, when I started to write this, there's been some things going on in my life the last couple weeks, just little things, right? Things that I feel like are big, but they're little things because things, it will pass. My water heater went out. It's fixed, thanks God. My heat went out, but it's fixed, thank God, right? And so just those things that made me uncomfortable, they got really frustrating. And then just life in general, right? Because life is always lifing. But this morning, that song, He's Sweet, I Know, it took me back to that time as a child when my family, my mom, my aunts, my grandmother, my uncles, where they were having me do things at church that I thought maybe was uncomfortable, but I learned to like it, right? I learned to like being in front of people. I learned to enjoy talking and leading programs and doing something like I'm doing now, right? Because even though it started off being uncomfortable, it was preparation for what and who God would allow me to do and allow me to be. He was bringing me into myself and preparing me, and my family was a part of it, right? Because that is what our families do. They help to prepare us. And so sometimes in that preparation, there's a period of being uncomfortable with what's happening because it's something new. It's something different. It's not something that you are used to doing. And I just thought about the last couple of years of life because we don't know what's going to happen in our lives, right? Like we're going about life just doing and being, and some things are going our way and looking the way we want it to look. And then sometimes it just becomes a pause, right? Where we feel like things just aren't working. Things didn't happen the way that we thought it should happen, right? And it starts to put us in this space of being uncomfortable because now we have to do something that we've never done before. We have to be in places that we've never been before, right? Like all these things happen. But I thought about as well, I'm going to tell you, all these places of being uncomfortable, all these situations have been in my job for 15 years, and it got so comfortable, right? And I got stagnant. But I knew that I needed to do something different. And this had happened years ago in another job as well, where God made me so uncomfortable that it was time for me to move, because if He hadn't have moved me, I would have stayed there, but it would have made me stagnant, right? And I said that it's Fill Up Friday and I'm filling up on abundance, right? But it would have made me stagnant. But God knew that He had an abundance of things for me to do, and staying there, I couldn't do it. And so my last job that I was at for 15 years, it was so comfortable, right? It was so comfortable. I knew it like the back of my hand. I could do it in my sleep. And God started to allow me to be uncomfortable. Why? Because He had more for me. There's an abundance of things He wants to do for me. There's an abundance of places He wants to take me. There's an abundance of people that He wants me to meet, right? There's an abundance of states that I need to travel to. There's things that I need to do. And so He had to allow me to get uncomfortable so that I can get out of my way and I can get out of His way, so that He can give me what He desires for me to have, right? And so I have all these desires, but I want it to be comfortable. You have desires, but you want to be comfortable, right? But God is saying that sometimes we have to be uncomfortable so that we can move and do what we're supposed to be doing. And it doesn't feel good. It's not going to feel good. It's going to feel weird. It's going to be frustrating, right? It's going to be scary, right? You may even be fearful. You may feel lonely in that move. You may feel lonely in that space. And like I said, it's going to be times where it is unbearable. But being uncomfortable in these last couple years has also allowed me to grow. I used to call my mom for every single thing. It's like and I still call her, don't get me wrong, but I used to call her for everything because I needed, or I would go to my husband for everything because I needed someone to say, well, yeah, go ahead and do that, right? I mean, I called her for something last night. So I'm not saying that I never call her or that I'm just in this space where I'm just going, but I'm doing better, right? And knowing that I have to talk to God about things, and I can't be fearful that when He tells me to move and when He tells me to do, that I need to do it. And just like the song says, trouble doesn't last always, well, being uncomfortable doesn't last always either. I'm going to stop for a second to read some of the comments because I was able to glance at them. So I want to make sure that we read them. But Don said, we do all have seasons, and I'm happy that you are in perfect state to be aware of what is happening and allow the process. That is the best location to be in, content where He has you and willing to learn at each step of the process, knowing He has you in His hands. Trying to put it up there. And then Deborah said, hey, Miss Deborah. Miss Deborah says the journey is necessary. It's like a never ending road trip. Highs, lows, turns, flat tires, unexpected delays, and views to reflect on. Get out of the comfort zone and explore why He made the journey possible. Keep traveling. God will take help you appreciate it all. And that is absolutely right. Like, it is all a process, right? So you guys said some really good things here, because Don said that being in a perfect state to be aware and what's happening. And for like a long time I felt like I was like in this fog. So like, even though I may have known what was happening, it was the point of like, no, I'm not going to accept that, right? And so now I'm in a place, and I hope that you are too, where you're in a place that you are aware that you're uncomfortable, but like, yeah, accepting that it's uncomfortable, and then knowing that there is a purpose, that there is a reason for it. And it may not be anything that we ever know, y'all, right? Like it just because when things happen in our lives and we don't like it and it just doesn't feel good, like we're trying to ask the question, like, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? Why am I in this season? Like, what's going on? And then people say things, and I'm going to say like crazy things like, God doesn't give you more than you can bear, or like, you're strong, or you were made for this, like all those things. But you don't want to hear those things, right? When you're going through, you really don't want to hear it, right? Because you're trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get out of this? Like, what's going on? You don't want to be in those spaces. So it's like you're trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get myself out of this space, right? Like, how am I going to do something different? But I am learning that, yes, Miss Deborah, the journey is necessary. And so tonight, I want to encourage you guys. Yes, you're uncomfortable. Yes, it may not feel good. Yes, you may feel like this is weird, like this is scary, this is painful, like all those things. But just know that God has an abundance of things that He wants to do for you. And there's an abundance of things that He wants to do through you, right? And so sometimes we have to be uncomfortable in order to get where we need to get. Like that's just, like that's just it. Yeah, I'm trying to trying to see if anybody else has made any comments. I'm trying to figure out how to get to the next one. But that's what we're really talking about tonight. Like, just knowing that there are going to be some times when it's uncomfortable. There's going to be some times where you're going to be like, woo, like I need to get out of this, right? But it is definitely a reason, right? We may not know it, God knows it. And just be okay with being uncomfortable, and it doesn't last always. And the reason that it doesn't is because if we're open to it, He will start to let us know that, listen, I have you in this space, right? And it's the abundance part, right? And so that's what dropped in my heart. It's the abundance part. It's things He wants to do. It's places He wants to go, for us to go. And so we have to be there just a little bit, right? When, like, okay, we just had Thanksgiving dinner, right? Yeah, I don't know how to take this off. We just had Thanksgiving dinner. And a lot of us, we ate a whole lot. It was so good, right? We ate and we were stuffed, right? We were so stuffed that we were uncomfortable. But listen, did it stop you from going back later and getting dessert? Or did it stop you from going the next day and eating more? No, it didn't, because that being uncomfortable, it didn't last forever. It just lasted for a little while, right? And so then you were ready for more food. And so that's what this is. Like the spiritual food, God, you're in that uncomfortable position for a little bit, but God wants to take you to the next place. It's not going to last always. Don says sometimes it feels like run, Forrest, run, but thankfully He runs ahead of us. Absolutely, it does, right? And like I said, when I posted what I just read, like, it sometimes we feel lonely or it feels unbearable, but we'll make it through this time just like we made it through the last time, right? He'll carry us through this time just like He carried us through the last time. So don't be weary in well doing, right? um be okay with being uncomfortable. There's lessons in it, right? I even told the young man who was here, to fix my heat. I was like, man, I was uncomfortable for like all those days, and that's all you had to do. Like, that was a quick fix, right? Like, that's all. But God was showing me that I could endure, right? Um, but what it also, again, made me feel like is there's some times when I move and there's some times when I'm still. And so this is the time where I need to move because He wants to give me more. right? He wants me to have abundance. And so he already has it laid out there for me. I just have to take the first step to do what I need to do, right? But then there's going to be other times when it's like, no, stay still, right? Stay still and just wait. But we have to be in tune with God and have a relationship with him to know when he's telling us to be still and be uncomfortable, and to know when he's saying, okay, you're in this uncomfortable position and it's time for you to move. So I thank God for the movement. And then I thank God for the stillness. They are both very purposeful. And so if you don't get anything else from tonight, just know that both the movement and the stillness, right? They are both purposeful, but be in the position where you can hear God and you can know what he's telling you to do. Lucy said, don't get content where you are because you will outgrow that suffering place. Oh, that's good, right? Because there is a time of suffering and that being uncomfortable, but we will outgrow it. And I thank God for that growth, right? I thank God for the preparation I had as a child. I thank God for my foundation. I thank God for my relationship with God, because being in this space of being uncomfortable, I know I never would have made it without his guidance. Like I know I never would have made it without being able to have conversation and relationship with him, right? And I say it all the time, not being judgmental or anything, but I'm just like, I don't know how people make it without him, right? In the season that I've been in that level of loneliness, in that level of being uncomfortable, like I know who my source is. I know that I would not have been able to make it without him. I know that I would have lost my mind. Like I know I would have been depressed. Like I know all those things. But if it wasn't for the goodness of Jesus, if it wasn't for his grace, if it wasn't for his mercy, if it wasn't for him just being so sweet, right? And so that song touched my heart this morning, right? Because just thinking about that old hymn, and thinking about hearing my family sing those old hymns, they were just words to me as a child. But now it's not just words, it's life, right? It's oxygen, it's breath, right? It's all the things that I need to live and to breathe and to do. So it's not just words, right? When our parents and grandparents were singing those songs, they were singing them because they knew, right? They were singing them because they were thankful. They were singing them because they know they had been in some uncomfortable situations, some uncomfortable places, right? But they knew that it didn't last a lifetime. They knew that God had brought them out. I was thinking about an old mother that used to be at our church, and her name was Mother Golf, and she was a heavy set lady, and her legs were big, and they would swell, but it never stopped her. Never ever stopped her from coming. And I'm trying to even remember how she got there. I don't even know if she drove herself there, but it was that her commitment to being in the house of the Lord, regardless of what it looked like, regardless of what she felt like, right? Because she knew that he was just so sweet, and she knew that she had to be in his presence, right? And so I was just thinking about her this morning. I remember there was a Wednesday night. We were in Bible study, and we would be in church late, because when I'm telling you, my church used to be lit. Them late, they was slain in the spirit, like you was gonna be there, right? And I remember falling asleep, and I remember waking up to her, like, popping me. And me and my cousin, we laugh about it because we thought that we had a bug or something on us, right? And so that's why she popped, but she probably was popping me just to be like, girl, get up. Like, you need to hear this. And I just laughed about it this morning, how we would be tired and we would fall asleep, but our parents, they would just be up and they would just be praising. And it's because, again, they had been through so much, and they knew who was the person. Yes, Latoya, they knew who the person was that had brought them through. Latoya, we still laugh about it. Like, she popped me so hard. And me and my cousin Barbara, we still laugh about it when we talk. And like my aunt, like she would just be slayed out in the spirit, and we would be like, every Sunday, really? Like, how long we gonna be in here? But man, we didn't know their story, right? Like, we didn't know how far they had come. We didn't know what their relationship with God was, right? Like, we didn't know the process. We didn't know their journey. And now we're in our own journeys, and I understand, and I feel every word of what they said. I felt every word of what they taught us. Like, my mom would go to work when she had to work on Sunday, and me and my sister knew, we still had to get up and we had to go to church, right? Like, that's what we had to do. And some days we'd be late and we'd be dragging. And when we got there, church should have already started, but sometimes they would wait for us, right? Because they wanted us to take our place, right? They needed me to be in the front doing what I needed to do. And then sometimes if we got there late and church had already started, my uncle would still make me come up there. He would tell me, come up here. And it's because it was preparation. He wanted me to take my place. And I go off to college and I come back, and I'm like, y'all been doing this without me, while I'm gone, but it didn't matter. My Uncle Doug said, no, still, you come up here. Like, it was always like, no, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And so even though I didn't understand it then, like, I thank God for it, right? I thank God for it now, for everything that they sowed into me. Like, my mom had us singing in choirs, and I can't sing, right? But she was teaching me that it wasn't about what we sounded like, but it was about the praise, and it was about the worship. Right. My friends' church, they would have us going from church to church and singing. And we laugh about it now because we can't sing. We couldn't sing, but it was what they were sowing into us. Right. It was what they were planting, right? For us to take our rightful place, that we didn't have to sound good, right? We didn't have to sing good, but it was about who we were singing to and what we were singing. It was about the praise. It was about the honor. It was about the worship. And so now we are who we are today because of being uncomfortable. Right. Even though at some point we bought into it, like we really thought we could sing. But at first we were uncomfortable. Right. But I can keep talking about it all night. But I just want to know that I love you guys, and I wanted to tell you to fill up on abundance, right? I know that God has so much in store for me, and I want you guys to know that He has so much in store for you as well. So as we leave tonight, Fill Up Friday, if you didn't fill up on anything this week, if you came in empty, then tonight I hope that you leave filled with knowing that God has abundance for you, right? Fill up on hope, right? And then be okay with being uncomfortable, because He's going to move you out of that season, right? And He's going to move you into a season of abundance. He's going to take you a step up on that ladder. So sometimes we have to be in a place that we may not want to be at. We may have to be in a place where we're ready to go, right? We're ready to move. We're ready to do something different, but it's okay. Just be okay in being uncomfortable just for a little while. Our time is coming. I always say it's not that it's already here, right? We just got to see it before we see it. We have to have a vision, and we have to know that God is already working it out for our favor. Abundance, abundance, abundance. That is what I'm walking in all of December. I'm walking in abundance. No, it's not about money. I know sometimes we think about abundance. We're just, people start to think about money, but okay, we'll take the money as well. But we're talking about abundance, abundance in grace, abundance in mercy, abundance in new jobs, abundance in having a clear mind, abundance in our health, right? Abundance in our families, abundance in relationships, right? Whatever it is that we need, we're walking in the abundance of it, right? We're walking in abundance. Take all that God has to give you. I just saw Amber do a heart abundance in our businesses, right? Like There's a lot of us on here. We have businesses, we're entrepreneurs, and we're thinking small, right? Or we're waiting for somebody to do something. Don't worry about it. We're in these uncomfortable states for a little while. Like I was thinking, man, I really haven't done anything since October, right? When we had the 5-year anniversary, and I started saying, oh, I got to get more consistent. Oh, I got to do it. And then God just, started reminding me, it's okay. It's okay sometimes just to be still, right? We talked about that earlier. There's time to move and then there's time to be still. But don't get caught up in the fact that we're not moving. Be open mind and listen to God to know when sometimes it's just time to stay still. And then this morning he started to give me ideas of what's coming next. And I was like, Lord, like I want to do that, but I don't know about that because what is it going to look like? But I don't have to worry about it. I just got to put it out there, right? And opportunity is going to start to come, right? Like I'm just putting it out there. And however he gives it to me to deliver it, that's the way it's going to happen. It's abundance, right? And so we're walking in abundance in on December in expectation for all that's going to take place in 2024, right? We said we had to walk in expectation and we had to walk in preparation. So we've been in that uncomfortable state, right? Where God has been preparing us. And now we're moving into abundance, right? And so next we're going to be moving into that expectation of what he's going to be doing for us. So listen, I'll go ahead and just put it out there for right now because I'll be posting it. But your women's group, your women's ministry, your teen ministries, even your men's ministry, JSpirations Live, Mrs. JSpire is ready and we are coming. And so churches, organizations, fraternities, sororities, you need to hear my voice, right? This is my season and this is my time. And so I'm not a preacher, I'm not a minister, but I do believe that I was called to share whatever and everything that God puts in my heart. There is a word that he has given me and he's given it to me for the masses, not for no popularity or celebrity or any of those things, but he's given it to me for a time as this because I'm not supposed to be here, right? I'm not supposed to be able to talk with you tonight. I'm not supposed to be able to do this every Friday night. I shouldn't have been able to have a 5-year anniversary. The last 2 years, I shouldn't have been able to come and encourage, but I'm here because there's an abundance that he wants me to do. And regardless of what tried to take me out, whether it's what was emotionally or physically, he can't do it, right? Because I'm walking in abundance. I'm walking in the life that God has for me. And so there's nothing that anybody can stop, and there's nothing that anybody can do. For the last 5 years, 4 years, my song has been Unstoppable, right? By Corinne Hawthorne, not because I'm unstoppable by myself, but I'm unstoppable because of him. Nobody can stop the plan that God has on my life. Nobody can stop the plan that God has on your life. And so tonight, walk in abundance, walk in what God wants you to have, come into agreement with him and just do it. Right. And so that's what it is. I don't know where my face may pop up at the end of this year or 2024. But I do know that it is a time of abundance for me, right? It is a time for me to walk into what God has called me. This morning, he even said, hey, we've been playing around, but it's time for your book. Like it's things that I've been wanting to do, but now he is starting to release those things to me to say, hey, this is time, right? The time is now. And so listen, there are some things that I'm uncomfortable with that I don't even think that I'm ready for, but I don't have to be ready. God is ready. He's calling me to do what he needs me to do. And so I'm going to walk in abundance. And so if it's time to write the book, then I'm going to be walking in the abundance of book selling, right? If he's called me to write the book, then he's called me to do a tour. And so if he's called me to do a tour, then I'm going to be traveling in an abundance of cities, right? And if I'm traveling in a bunch of cities, like then I'm going to be going to a bunch of states. Abundance, right? Abundance in whatever he has for me, right? And he's not going to give me a vision. He's not going to give me anything that he's not going to see through, right? So Don says, closer to accepted the calling. Don always called me a preacher, but I'm not. And then Paula said, that's why he's making you uncomfortable. He wants you to grow. And absolutely. Like, I have been uncomfortable. And so I thank God for it, even though it doesn't feel good, because I know that these things are coming. And so I have to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be in some places that's going to be a little weird. I'll be in some places that I've never been before. Right. But it is the calling that God has on my life. And so there's been some hardship, there's been some grief, there's been some pain, there's been some, I don't even know like how to say it all, but there has been some things, right? And some things I didn't think I was going to make it through, right? Some things I didn't think my mind was going to make through, right? But here I am. And so here you are. There's some things that you didn't think you would make it through, but here you are. You are still here. So I encourage you to walk in abundance. I encourage you to walk, to have some self-care this weekend, to have some self-care tonight. Do something that makes you feel good. Do something that makes you feel safe. Do something that allows you to reflect. Do something to allow you to really see the hand of God on your life. So before I go, I'm also going to try to do it backwards because I don't know how it's going to come off on y'all screen. But again, this reflection journal, I talked about it last week, I think, and so I'm going to talk about it again. And to be honest, I haven't even written in it. I also believe there's a time. It says you're supposed to be committed to it. But for me, like, I know that I may not need to write in it all the time. But this reflection journal by my good friend, Arlene Dyer. She's so humble. She didn't even put any of her information in the book. But I am pushing this book and encouraging this book. It's the Reflections Journal. It gives you the opportunity each day to reflect on a scripture of the day, to reflect on a word of the day, and to really talk about what happened throughout your day, to give you the opportunity to process before you go to bed and to be ready for the next day. So can't remember, y'all, but I think it was $20. It's on Amazon. It's the Reflection Journal, and the person who wrote it is Arlene Dyer. So I encourage you. You guys know I don't usually do this, but just writing in it for that first time, it was good for my soul. And so I really have to commit to writing in it every day. Because sometimes I just write it on JSpirations Live, right, as my reflection so I can share with you all. But if you can take the opportunity to purchase this on Amazon, I think it's going to be so helpful, especially as we begin to walk in abundance and we get ready for 2024 and all God has to bring to us. So I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. Get outside and get a little bit of sun because even though it's cold, the sun still shines. So I love you guys. And as always, be JSpire.